Are you ready to take action to attain the lifestyle of your dreams?
It's a great way to make a lot of money fast.
Hey, what's going on, Clever Investors? Welcome back to the Clever Investor Show. I'm your lucky host, the OG Clever Investor, Big Spurbs. We're in the studio today with a special guest coming from the great state of Texas, all the way from San Antonio. He's a successful real estate investor since 2013, flipped hundreds and hundreds of deals. His best year ever, he brought in $40 million.
Yep.
It was a big-ass number.
That was a big number.
Kept what? 5 to 8 million of EBITDA?
That's right, yeah.
That's earth-shattering in this industry. Not a lot of people have accomplished income like that. He's a wholesaler, a rehabber, a commercial guy, and he's got a very special niche that I'm really excited to unpack on today's Clever Investor Show. This is why I asked him to come on. We have the amazing Logan Fullmer on the show. Welcome to the Clever Investor Show,
This is
brother.
great.
Hey, glad you're here.
Thanks, my dude. I appreciate it.
Welcome to Tempe, Arizona.
Yeah.
You have a lot of friends out here.
Yeah, that's right. This is the place. This is like the real estate mecca, I don't know, in the United States. Something special happened here. Somebody planted some seeds about 10 years ago, and all of y'all just grew.
Wonder
right
who
out
that
of it.
was. I wonder who that was.
Right.
I don't know. I'm going to take all the credit for it, no matter who it was. So yeah, you're out here. You know the guys from Batch.
Yeah, great people.
Batch skip tracing, Batch. What are they called now? Batch leads, Batch data,
Batch services.
Batch services. And they actually are doing a big deal with you.
Yeah,
we were talking about before the show.
that's right. To land a land entitlement deal.
I just have been getting into entitlements in the last few years. Like really getting into them. I love that business model. It's a longer play. Just unpack that deal for us real quick before we get into the meat and potatoes of your background.
Cody, that started as a wholesale deal. So you mentioned I do wholesaling. I also do commercial wholesaling. And it's just like it sounds, just like residential. You get a contract, you do a little bit of diligence, and you sell that contract and hope to make the difference of the two. Commercial is a little more complicated because it takes longer and there's diligence. It's much different than walking a house and saying, I want it. There's a lot more to it. So I got about 99 acres. Actually, it started out as 78 acres under contract. And I was going to wholesale that to a group out of Houston for about a $2 million markup.
I mean, that was
a home run. That would have been
wholesale deal.
Top 3 deals we've ever done.
Yeah.
And so it was $4.5 million for that, right around there. Anyway, the guy's starting to retrade me, kind of being nasty about it. And I call a developer and ask him to help me explain what this deal is to the guy that was going to buy it. And while we were talking, I realized, man, this guy knows how to do this. He was worked for a big developer for almost 10 years, I think it was. So we get to this point, guy's trying to retrade me down, and I'm hearing what this thing is really worth. And I finally just tell the guy, get lost. He says, no, I'm coming from Houston. I'm going to negotiate. We're going to make this work. And I said, no, I'm taking it. Called the neighbor, picked up the other 25 acres. So combined, it was 99. And it was actually, this is a really interesting part of this story that you would miss just glazing over this. It was under contract for 2 years. They did all of the early entitlement work. And when the interest rate shot up last summer, they cut their very last unit of a lot of developments because that's the most expensive unit in the development to complete. They cut the contract on it after they'd given $250,000 hard earnest money over 2 years. We literally called them the week after it and ended up catching that contract. So there's a lot of luck, but we also figured out what to do really quickly. Brought the developer in, agreed to pay him a fee, bring him in as a partner. Ended up being $6.5 million for both tracks, and then another $1 million for the entitlement work. But instead of having to wait to 3+ years because some of the groundwork had already been done in front of us, I got to pick the ball up and run with it. So we're looking at about a year-long deal, $7.5 million entry, $20 million exit for the land, and there's no vertical or horizontal construction. It's all a big stack of paper called a development agreement, and then a MUD, a utility district. So $20 million for the land, but we get $8 million on the MUD. That's $28 million total exit.
See, I want everybody to understand exactly what just happened there. You started off a wholesale deal. You had a $2 million markup. The guy wanted to beat you up a little bit. Most wholesalers would have stopped there and just said, you know what? Fuck it. I'll take whatever I get. If I get $1 million, if I get even $800,000, it will be one of the biggest deals I ever do.
Right.
But you slowed the process down long enough because your maturity as an investor. You said, hold on, I need more information. I need to start reaching out to other experts to tell me what the hell this thing is. Why does this guy want it so bad? Especially when I did a takeaway.
Actually, one of the things one of the guys in my office said is, why does he want it so bad? That's one of the exact comments.
Yeah, why does he want it so bad? If he's still saying, no, I'm coming, we're just got to negotiate a little bit. Slow down. Let me figure out what I'm doing. So you went and found a guy who happens to know a lot about entitlements, a lot about land development, understood what that property could be worth. Now, was he coaching you on like, hey, go get the neighbor's land. Let's combine these tracts to have 99 acres. Or was that all you? Like, how did you end up with the thinking about like, hey, I'm gonna do this myself, number one. And number two, I'm gonna go to the neighbor, work it out a deal with them, combine the tracts so I can
initially
get a bigger deal.
So I saw some of the planning information and the maps and prelim plats and stuff that had been drawn. The seller gave me all that. It was the diligence package that they had provided while they were in contract. And I got to looking at it and realized the fourth unit of the subdivision was my tract, but there was another tract that I didn't have. And I was trying to look at it saying, I wonder if we can lay this out without that other tract. And when he got involved, he said, man, you really want that. So I actually had to pay a little bit extra for that neighboring tract because the guy that was carrying it, he was one of those guys that buys and carries land while developers entitle and then makes an agreed on markup. He just said, I'll take the markup from you. And I was like, whoa.
What a sleazy little ambulance chaser. That guy's smart.
Yeah.
Comes in and says, where's these developers looking? Let me get out there. I'll take that bad boy down. I'll hold it for us during the entitlement process. Just pay me a little extra for my time.
And he did great on it. But the thing is, I realized I couldn't beat him up on it because I needed that to get my real lift. So during that process, we said, we need this too. And the crazy part is we had to come up with $6.5 million in 90 days.
And that's how you end up getting involved with some of the batch guys.
Yeah, I was already close
leveraging
with
your
them.
network, trying to raise some capital.
I called 4 or 5 people that I'm the closest with that I know have money and have trust with me. And the conversation, I've never raised $1 in my life except for this deal. This was fast and furious, and I knew I didn't want to lose it. And I didn't want to use debt on it because it's a land deal and it's too much risk for me. I literally called these guys and said, hey, look, here are the numbers. This is what we're going to do. And I start talking about the deal and they're like, we're in. I'm like, okay, I see what's going on. You love me. You trust me. This is why we're doing this deal. And he's like, send me the packet later, but sign me up for X amount of dollars.
I love that. That's great. Well, that means your reputation in this space is good. That's good. So let's take a step back. So you've been doing this since 2013. Started off just normal real estate investor, single family type dude.
So I was buying little vacant lots. Early on, my aunt had some money that I was helping her invest and helped her get some rent houses. I didn't learn much there other than how to close a deal and collect rent. But when I got to the oil field, after a kind of a rebound period in my life, I guess you could say, I got to work and started saving money and said, man, this money needs to go somewhere. So I started finding these little vacant lots. There were 5,000 to 10,000 square foot vacant lots on the east side of San Antonio. So you look at the central business district, and almost every city has this. You cross one of those highways and it's like the hood. And you think, wow, if it just bleeds across like it has in so many other big MSAs, something's going to happen. So I saved a couple $100,000 over the years, and I bought almost 24 vacant lots, $5,000 and $10,000 a piece. I'd come in on the weekends from the oil field and buy these. And I thought, man, someday they're going to be worth something. And I get a call in 2000, and I was doing this while I was working. I get a call in 2015. A realtor says, hey, I want to buy this property from you. My client, it's his deal, whatever. Sends me a contract. He says it's going to be for $200,000. I'm in the track for $10,000. So I'm thinking, yeah, send it, whatever. He didn't send it for $200,000. He sent it for $189,000. I didn't blink. I signed it before he could change his mind. And a couple of things happened in that moment. I realized, okay, there's something to this land deal. Also, while I wasn't watching the market, the values have come up substantially. And then the most important thing is I'm not a poor oil field hand. I'm a real estate dude now. And I got laid off the next month, and it was like, hit the gas. Let's go to real estate. So I had $200,000 in my bank account now. Let's go.
I love that. So you started doing real estate, and you kind of work through the typical arc of a real estate investor, right? You're doing a rehabbing, you're doing some wholesaling. How did you go from single family to commercial?
It was about a 5-year process of, I started spending time doing curative title work because I went back to the honey hole after I did that big deal, and I was wanting to go buy some more lots for $5,000 or $10,000 and sell them for $180,000, and the lots were no longer cheap. But I found the situation where 1 in 5 parcels on the east side of town at the time were vacant lots. It was blight. It was bad. It was a neighborhood that had tough times. But there was a lot of ownership problems. There was a lot of tax issues. There were a lot of judgments and liens. And these properties couldn't be transacted. They were the only ones that haven't sold. So I did have one situation not long before then where I bought one deed of 8 from this guy, and I didn't buy title insurance. It was one of the few, and it just so happened I got myself in a bind. And I went through this process all summer of paying a lawyer, fixing the problems. And a light went off. I said, that's the way I can go back and get more of these $200,000, $100,000 lots for less money. So I went down that rabbit hole and actually built a business over that. I've got operating partners running these businesses that I've worked with and trained and helped capitalize, and they're doing them. And then I went for a distressed deal. It was a warehouse, 2,500 square foot metal building. You can't even call it a warehouse, on 1 acre, behind in taxes. I bought it for $10,000 to the seller, and it was $15,000 to the tax office. And it was a wreck. I mean, I spent 40. Actually, I didn't spend it. A guy did the cleanup work, but he told me he got $40,000 worth of remnants from steel and all kinds of stuff off the site. It was horrible. Paint the thing, scrape the site, called a commercial broker and said, what can I get for this little 1 acre dump? The tax roll said $250. I'm all in it for like 60 grand at the time. I think I'm about to make 200, 180 grand. He sells it for 430.
Oh, wow.
It was remarkable. It was a huge surprise. And in that moment, I thought, who wants a 2,500 square foot metal building for 400,000? I think I need to look into this more. That's when I started looking at commercial and thought, man, these houses aren't quite as exciting.
I love that. So, and I want to talk more about some of your commercial stuff and your land stuff, but you brought it up. So let's talk about your niche. And I think this is really cool because I was sharing with you before the podcast. One of the guys that taught me the business, he was really great at finding title defects, properties that were uninsurable, properties that, for whatever reason, kept falling out of escrow, family members fighting, whatever was going on with the chain of title, there was issues. And he had like,
man, you're talking my language.
He had like these 4 or 5 or 6 old ladies in his office. And you know, nowadays we call them like transaction coordinators and office admins and stuff. He just had these ladies digging through old title work. And I don't know if he pulled them from like title companies or where he got these ladies, but their only job was to find properties all around the valley that had major title issues. And he would spend anywhere between like 8 months to maybe 2 years.
That's right, yeah.
Cleaning these things up in a way to get them to where they can pass and sell, and he would get them for 20, 30 cents on the dollar by the time they're done. And it was always fascinating to me how he did that. So walk somebody through like what your niche is and what are the different scenarios you run into and how do you approach it?
You pretty much explained my business model, like right there to the T. That dude was doing this. Now, the neat thing is what he did, you usually had to go down to the courthouse and do all this work in person. Now we can do this all from the office on our computer. It's so much faster and so much smarter, and we can do it in more volume now. But ultimately, marketable title is what you're looking to get. And everybody that's watching this and involved in real estate right now, what they're doing is they're buying and they're trading real estate and they're going through a title company and they don't even think about it. That's where you close. That's where you bring your money. That's where you get your deed. And it's not that big of a deal. Every once in a while, you have a little item like somebody died and you have to get an affidavit of heirship for the 2 brother sellers. That's very common. In my case, I'm looking at something that stops that sale. I don't really want to talk to anybody unless they've been trying to sell the property for years and can't. I don't want to educate them on their problem because it sounds crazy. I want them to know they have the issue. They're just ready to get out of this thing. They're ready to walk away almost. And when that condition happens, they go to judges, attorneys, brokers. I mean, the experts, they go to everyone they can. They can't fix it. So when they come to me, they're like, I'm done with this. And I detach the value of the real estate from the money I'm giving them. I try to detach the two and say, look, I'm not paying you for this real estate. I'm paying for you to walk away and I'm paying to take your seat at the table. So you're going to the rodeo, I'm just going to exchange your ticket and I'm going to go to the rodeo instead of you. That's it. But this ain't a fun rodeo.
So you're just saying, look, you're screwed. Nobody's going to give you.
They're saying they're screwed. And I'm agreeing.
Yeah, you're agreeing they're screwed. You're saying, look, I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure this out or not,
right,
but let me take a crack at it. I'll basically buy you out. You put me
That's
in.
It.
And like how you explain, like I bought, I don't know, I think you said maybe accidentally, but you ended up in a deal where it had like 8 owners.
Yeah.
And I'm sure 8 people are not all in agreeance all the time to what to do and how to do it. So I'm sure a lot of these are, like multiple generations of family members inheriting land or a property.
Anything, warehouse, an apartment complex, old vacant houses downtown, ranches.
Yeah. And when
Literally
you have
everything.
one or two of them kind of in agreement and the rest not agreeing
Right.
on what to do or passing away and inheriting things at different levels of generations or whatever, you got to kind of come in there and be the person that pulls it all back together.
Most of those folks have problems amongst each other, like you mentioned, and they're unwilling to invest the money to solve it because they don't think they're going to get their money back or a fair share back. And that's what causes disconnection.
So they're like, I don't even want to put money into this deal to try to fix the problem because I'm not even confident that
I'm not confident I can fix it. I'm not confident my cousin Johnny is going to want to even reimburse me for my expenses. They have lifelong family disputes, things like that. So that's one issue. So I would call that an orphaned estate or an unresolved estate. The other common ones are big tax judgments or big tax liens. They have a huge amount of tax money. You've got owners who aren't getting along. You've got missing owners. You've got judgments and liens like that outvalue the property. So for example, if your car got repoed and Toyota Motor Credit repoed it and sold it and they send a default or a deficiency judgment against you in the county records, they'll record that. That could be $30,000. Well, if you also didn't pay your child support, there's another $100,000. I mean, these things stack up. So when you have huge amounts of judgments and liens on a property, you either got to pay them or the property can't sell well. In my case, I know when those expire. I know which creditors will negotiate pennies on the dollar for those. And I can sometimes challenge the judgments and get them completely wiped. So all those things that prevent people from just selling with marketable title simply, I've spent the time to do the research to figure out how to solve each one of those and then put a business case behind it so that I can pick up equity along the way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good way to explain it. So what does your team look like for you to be able to pull this off?
So my office in San Antonio, I've got 20 people in there. I've got an attorney that's full-time in-house. He's my guy. Got another one.
Is he doing attorney shit?
That's what he's doing. He's filing lawsuits. He's sending demand letters. Sometimes he's sending nice letters, but not as often. We do a fair amount of litigation. That's kind of like your backstop. Probably right now, I usually almost have about 24 lawsuits pending at any time.
And this is all just to clear shit up or force people to the table to
let's get it fixed.
Make a decision.
That's right. Also, I don't walk away from contracts. People file memos. I file specific performance if it's a good big deal. So that's about 15% of that work. But the rest of it is curative work.
Like, what do you mean? Instead of you're clouding title, but you're doing it through a lawsuit?
I'm filing the lawsuit to cause the judge to cause them to give me the property. So like when you have this big deal.
Non-performance. So somebody, you roll up, you negotiate, you put their property under contract. If somebody else comes behind you, try to talk them out of the deal.
Well, there's that, or they get wise and say, I've got one right now. I just won is a $2.5 million apartment complex. They contracted to sell me for $1 million. They got their tax assessment value and the property value doubled. And they said, I'm not coming to the closing table. I said, yes, you are.
Yeah.
They said, no, I'm not. And I said, let's go see what the judge says.
Yeah.
So that's a small
So
amount.
instead of filing, what is it? A Liz Pendens that you're filing?
A memo. A lot of times people file the memorandum of contract.
Yeah.
In my case, I'll just file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And the judge will tell them to give it to me, basically. So, but going through the process of understanding litigation, becoming skilled at it, that's really does help for this curative stuff because one in about 15 properties require some sort of lawsuit to either convince people to finish the deal or I've got to get a judgment or a lien wiped or stripped, or I've got to challenge sometimes taxes, or they're getting ready to foreclose. The county's getting ready to foreclose on a tax judgment. So I've got to file a restraining order against the county to prevent them from selling the property so I can finish my title work before the sheriff's sale happens. So I'm like it sounds strange. I've never thought about it like this.
Yeah.
I'm actually having to file a lawsuit against the county tax authority.
Just to buy you time because the lawsuit, they can't just ignore it.
Right.
Now they have to deal with it. And there's a process for that.
That's right. No, I've found that the tax lawsuits have horrible problems. And it's pretty easy to stop them by filing a bill of review. And we say, whoa, law firm that represents the county, you forgot to serve an error. You missed so many steps in the civil practice and procedure. You need to go back and correct that.
Now, what if they don't miss any steps? What if they did it?
You can still file a bill of review.
Yeah.
And then let's go review this to make sure it was done right because it was an uncontested lawsuit, no response. Let's go back and make sure it was all done right.
And that's buying you enough time for you to finish.
Give me 90 days.
Yeah. Okay. And that's really all you need sometimes.
Usually, yeah. So where I was going with that is got 20 people, got a front desk out, an attorney, and other ones coming on. I have a couple operating partners that run different businesses that are all pretty much in the same Same field, just each guy owns their share of the company and I help them with it and they're running their own business line.
Oh, that's an interesting way to build out a team. So instead of just hiring people, you're saying, look, you're a badass. Let's create a business line. You're calling it a business line. It's like a division. And instead of you just working for me, let's partner up on this division. I'll give you a profit share.
Right.
Are they equity owners in that? Are you
50%? There ain't no 49-51. It's 50-50.
Yeah.
They're an equal with me.
Got it.
Now, I've spent the time training them and I mentor them. And when something goes bad, they bring it to my desk and say, I can't fix it. And I've got to be the one to solve all those problems. I help capitalize those businesses to begin with.
Okay.
But ultimately, when you find a great person to work with, some of your best employees, if they're good enough and entrepreneurial, if they're going to leave. And I thought, well, why don't I just give you what you're going to go out there and get? Let's continue. Yeah. And that's how I've been able to grow with a couple partners.
Yeah, I love that. And nothing is more regrettable than a badass player breaking away and going and starting their own business, competing against you, utilizing your relationships and
everything you've done for them.
It just feels so much injustice and all, but it also makes sense because you would have done it if roles were reversed. If you didn't have a path,
100%.
You're too entrepreneurial, you would never stay as just a team member.
That's right. So the last 10 people in my office are lead gen, pounding the phones. They are working the phones about 30 hours a week. Boom.
Okay. And I love that this is the conversation because I have a deal automator software that we have. And there's a bolt-on to our software that I think it's $1,000. And you basically get all the lien data in the country.
Oh, wow.
So I was pulling it up while you were talking. I was like, all right, let me go back in here and start messing around this because I want to be able to run lead gen from here. We got assignments of rents, judgments, general liens, HOA liens, mechanics liens, tax government liens, utility liens, deceased probate, divorce, and lis pendens.
Dude,
that's good, right?
You got what you need.
So this is.
If you search through that right there,
let's pick a market. Come on, where's your market?
I'm familiar with San Antonio, so let's do that.
San Antonio. I've never done this, by the way. San Antonio, Texas. Lead types. I mean, we got every lead type under the sun. I'm doing single family, by the way. Should I be doing commercial?
No, do single family.
Yeah. Is there a specific lead type? Absentee owner, high equity? Does it even matter? Just do none of them?
I think anything with the big judgment and liens are good. I think absentee owner, I like that because if a person, let's say there's 7 owners and one of them lives in the property, that's always going to be the hardest person to deal with. Even if the county's going to foreclose and this property is going to be lost in 6 weeks, that's still their home. They're still going to have a problem. You have to deal with that. So
yeah,
I like
all right. So we're choosing
owners.
San Antonio. We're choosing absentee owners. What type of lien would I be searching for?
Assignment of rents goes with a mortgage. You don't want to do that.
HOA liens, mechanics liens, tax liens, utility liens.
No, go. If you go back up a little bit, go to that judgment right there or general lien. Both of those two.
All right, let's just put
that
judgment.
That can be from a credit card lien. It can be child support lien. I mean,
so judgment literally says a legal claim that is placed on a property as a result of a court ruling. This lien gives the person or entity that obtained the judgment the right to take possession of the property if the borrower doesn't pay the debt or judgment amount.
Bingo.
And then general lien is a legal claim that can be placed on a property as a result of a debt or obligation that the property owner owes to somebody else. A general lien can be treated in a variety of ways, such as through a court judgment. A court judgment, a contract, or by operational law.
So let me frame this for a minute. These big companies have judgments against people who didn't pay. So these people owe somebody else money. And the big company says, once it's been 2 or 3 years, the odds of me collecting go down to almost zero. So if these people own real estate, you can buy that judgment and foreclose on the real estate to get the face value of the judgment repaid to you. And many times they don't go defend that case. So the real estate winds up becoming yours for the purchase price of that judgment and some legal fees. That's another faction of property acquisition that way.
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of an aggressive model and you get a little bit of bad press sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to be willing to fight all those battles and worry about your reputation. Okay, so I just hit search. We have 121 results in San Antonio of properties that are single family. Mm-hmm. So I did single family land, multifamily apartments.
Oh, yeah.
So we have 121 opportunities that we can start to figure out, So
you basically pick one of those.
Yeah, because all of them have a judgment lien or a general lien. Look at this first one is foreclosure, delinquent tax liens, general liens.
Oh,
There's all
dude.
kinds of gunk
So
on
the
this
next
one.
thing you want to do is filter above $200,000 as the assessed or the appraised value. And
Okay,
something
property value $200K or more.
yeah. The reason I say that is you can do it on a $100,000 property, but it's like going to the same job. One of them pays you, I don't know, 50 grand a year and one pays you 100 grand a year. Why don't you go to the job where you do the same work and get paid 100 grand a year? Same concept.
All right, so this narrowed us down to 77 leads.
Okay.
All right, so now we're talking.
You could literally pick any of those.
Yeah.
Pick on the top one.
Well, yeah, this one has a general lien. It's a 1,135 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. The owner has a lien.
Yep.
So
that's going to be the guy where you look at it and say, let me go look at the face of this lien, make sure he still owns the property. If he does and he's not owner occupied, I would call and ask him if he wants to sell it. You might start to hear a story. A lot of folks have, like you talked to Eric Klein yesterday. He has a script. It's meticulous. It's planned out. He's the authority. He's smart. Like that's your goal when you communicate with people in that way. Mine's the opposite. Hey, this is Logan over here on North New Braunfels Street. I'm calling about this property. There might be some issues. I have over here that you're the owner, but it might be Jenny. I don't know. And I'm looking at some judgments and liens. I run this business that does projects kind of like this. Is this something that you're trying to fix? Would you want to talk to somebody about this? It's just
very
let's discover.
non-confrontational.
Yeah.
You're just exploring.
And you know what? If he tells me get lost, no, that's okay. We have databases with thousands and tens of thousands of these. We go right to the next one. And I don't want the guy that doesn't want to work with me. I don't want to work with him. But the guy that does want to work with me, we were like made for each other.
Got it. Because maybe he's like, yeah, me and my 4 brothers and have this deal and we don't agree.
That's right.
And you're like, great, let's talk.
Or he'll tell me, you know what? You found one lien, but there are 10 others. I didn't pay my IRS taxes for 6 years in a row. And they smacked me the $1 million lien. And I don't know what to do with it. And I wanted to sell this rent house for 200 grand, but I can't. In that case, we'll go back to the IRS and help him file taxes for 7 years. I'll hire a CPA, get the taxes filed. And it's just because he didn't file, he smacked him with this big one and you end up negotiating the thing for like 30 grand. And then he's going to sell me the property for dang near nothing. So I might be in it for, in that case, 50.
Yeah.
He goes, bye-bye.
And he ends up getting out of it. His federal liens
and
are gone.
we get the liens released for this dude.
Yeah. So he's feeling
Come
good.
on.
Yeah. I remember one time I was doing a deal and the lady, I'm trying to remember the details, but she'd had no car. She was in foreclosure. She had tax issues and we were just hacking away at all these different things. I was driving her around in my car to go get a new license. She lost her driver's license. So she can sign. I'm at the DMV with her for 2 days in a row, like the things real estate investors do to just get the dang deal to the finish line.
I couldn't make it in med school. I couldn't make it in law school. This is what I'm going to do for a paycheck.
There you go. Well, that's cool. And so, for anybody listening, this could be very scary, very overwhelming. I like, just like when I heard Frank telling me, oh, I got these 5 old ladies digging through old stuff. Like they didn't have a deal automator software where you could just like pull it real quick. How are you generating your leads, by the way?
We're usually going through the land records and looking for stuff. But what I started to find over about a year, first year, I went back and did an annual review and realized, oh my gosh, every single deal I did was also delinquent on taxes. So
that's like a commonality that you can market to.
The easier answer is starting with delinquent tax stuff. And you can look at lawsuits that have been filed to collect for taxes. You can look at tax foreclosure sales that are about to happen. Or you can look at, there's a tax delinquent list that you can buy from the county for a couple $100.
I thought we have it, right?
Okay, there you go.
I think we have
so that to
tax
me,
government lien.
Okay, that to me is the best place to search because
let's unwind this and go back to tax government lien and see what happens.
They have a problem paying the taxes, but a large part of the time they have ownership issues too.
Yeah, so
otherwise they'd sell it.
There's only 12 leads in here that came up with tax lien.
So see, that'll cycle through. And also what you're probably not catching is there's a more sophisticated way to search. You search through the docket in the county and find a tax lawsuit's been filed, but it's not yet a judgment or a lien.
Got it. Okay. Well, yeah, this one.
But see, these, if it's already a lien, you're catching them now where they're at the end of the road and they have to make a decision before the sale happens. So those are the most urgent. If you have time and 10 people generating leads, you'll go for the ones that are less urgent and you'll work them for months and months and months. And eventually they're like, oh my God, Logan, okay, let's do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a new person getting involved in this, this might feel a little scary or overwhelming because they're like, I don't even know how to figure out how to do 12 lawsuits at a time and work with property owners, work with property owners that don't have, the ability to get these deals done. I'm too new. I don't have the ability and skills to work with them and convince them that I can solve this problem. So you just partner with newbies.
So
right?
that's true.
So if I find a shitty deal that's all jacked up, right, from a lien perspective, and I call you up, I can say, hey, let's JV on this.
Absolutely. Probably a third of my transactions are referrals.
That's great.
So we get them from local attorneys, brokers, investors, wholesalers. It comes from a lot of folks. Folks just emailed into my office. If you go on the internet, go on Instagram or anything like that, just plug in my name. You'll find contact info there. I can't really look at it unless somebody has already had a conversation with an owner and they're interested in working with them, because there are literally tens of thousands of vacant properties or messes. But if you got someone engaged and you want to look at it, I'd tell them to call me. But maybe they want to do it on their own and make their own money. Don't go at it alone. Go find an attorney who's creative and is a good referral locally and give them $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. At the end of the day, it sounds like a lot of money and it's going to be a risk. But if you're out here making money, maybe just don't go buy the extra car this year or don't go buy the extra watch or whatever and dump it into this. And you would be surprised if you don't turn that deal into a $50,000 or $100,000 spread. That'll change your life. You'll look at deals differently. You'll have the assistants to do them, and then you can buy more of those watches or whatever it is you were going to buy.
How long on average do these deals take?
So in the early days, they would take anywhere from 4 months to 3 years. At this point, my typical deal time is about 120 days now. But this is something I tell my guys in my office, and we've all finally gotten together and believe it as a family. Just because you could doesn't mean you should. We've gotten to a spot where we can literally fix everything. But the problem is sometimes it's a $30,000 property. Don't do that. Or you have $4 million worth of restitution liens from a criminal. Don't do that. Find something that makes sense. And some of those are deals that I found one in Austin 2 years ago, had 200 owners. This is a big mess. And a friend of mine who does this called me and told me about it too. And I said, I'm staying away from that. I saw that. He took it on and regretted it. There's sometimes where you just don't want to touch it.
Now, why would he regret it?
The biggest deal I've done had 65 owners. And we got a large share of them, at least half of them within a week had phone calls with us and has said, we'll sell at a low price. When you start to look at that many people, you start to have too many disputes. And let's just think about, for example, let's say you buy 100 of the shares and the other 100 don't want to sell and you have to file a lawsuit and ask a judge to sell and split the money. Think about this for a minute. Civil service costs between $75 and $100 to have a process server deliver you the notice. To 100 people, it costs you $10,000 to serve these people. Every time you have to notice, $10,000. The mechanics of that don't make sense.
What kind of property has 65 freaking owners? Just families, massive families?
The vesting deed was from like 1910 or something. And it was just at the edge of Austin and it had an ag exemption. So the taxes were tiny for years. People kept dying. And this family loved to procreate, man. Every person would have like 6 to 10 kids. So
yeah, that's wild. All right, so let's transition away from real estate. Let's talk lifestyle, business. You're here in the podcast studio. You got your beautiful daughter here, hanging out with you. So you're obviously bringing your family with you through this journey. How has that been? Building, starting, scaling businesses, juggling it all. Like, is there a thing called balance? Are you doing well at it?
It's what we're happy with, and I think a lot of people would call it probably unbalanced. You might ask my daughter, and she thinks we talk about work maybe a little too much, but she's probably getting used to it, and it's going to become how she operates probably. But my wife and I started in business not long after I met my wife. So we've been together as this thing was, we were living in apartments, had a couple deals going, and today we've now got 4 kids. She's our agent, so she does a lot of dispo stuff on MLS for owned assets. So it's really a very commingled thing.
It's like a family biz.
It is.
It's a family biz. How is it working with your wife?
It's good. We get along really well in that regard.
Tell the truth. Is it really good?
We argue like everybody. No way around that. But I'm going to tell you, that's probably the thing that matters the most. We can argue and we can get over it and we can solve it. And it doesn't cause a week's worth of drama, or it's not like an atomic bomb and off. Like, we have some bullshit like everybody else. But we figure it out and we go on. That matters to us.
Yeah. Well, good. I think that's great. I mean, one of the things that I look back and regret probably probably regret with my ex-wife is just the division, like the separation of her staying at home, kind of handling the kids, and me going off and building the empire.
Yeah,
and even though
that's
she was
tough.
involved, it was I always kind of look back now and I go, God, I wish she would either had her own thing or been
Yeah.
included more in my thing. Because the thing can't just be for them to just raise the family while you're off, building and scaling businesses.
Yeah, I'm a believer of folks need satisfaction. They need to get that from things that make them feel confident and they have their own accomplishments. And my wife doesn't come into our office. She works from our house. We've got 2 kids. So my oldest is Lisa Bella, who's here. She's in 8th grade. Then the youngest is Blakely. She's 2.5. No, she's turned 3. She's 3 now. So, dude, there's a lot going on. She's dropping kids off at dance, running over to school, and she's working the phone like crazy. So we have a lot of overlap, but she's still able to be with our kids a lot. I will tell you earlier on, though, there were times where it was frustrating. She was very frustrated at me because I would work 7 days a week and I started in the apartment. But when we got an office, there's time we spent apart and it was tough for a little while.
Yeah, seasonal.
But she came in and told me how big of a deal it was. And I had to put my pride and ego away and not fight and not make it a big deal and say, this does matter. And we're going to make a lot of money in the long run. I've got to figure out how to spend some of my time picking the kids up, getting home more. And now at this point, I don't know. I haven't worked a weekend in 3 years, maybe at least 4 years. Yeah. I can get kids to school.
Short-term sacrifice for the long-term gains.
It was that first 3 or 4 years was,
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
This is what always trips me out about young people. They're like, they think that they see a guy like me rolling into the office whenever the hell he wants. First half of the day, I'm running, I'm at the gym, I'm ice bathing, I'm laying around in red light therapy, I'm eating great, I'm doing all this health shit. That ain't how it is in the beginning. I was up at 4 a.m. on my computer, answering emails, busting ass, generating everything I needed to generate, outworking everybody. I would work an entire day before everybody else even got up.
Right.
And I just did that for years, for 10 years.
That's not the fashionable part.
No.
That's not what you get to see on Instagram. What you're doing right now is like, 10 years in?
Yeah. Oh, no, 20.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm 20.
There you go.
I was a psycho. I was a psychopath. I was an obsessed maniac, but I never wanted to work for anybody else. I couldn't. Yeah. I wasn't that guy. And then now you see like the lifestyle and you're like, you think that's what it is? You think you're going to go out there and get 19 side hustles and earn a great lifestyle? Every successful person I know does one thing phenomenally well for a very long period of time. And then maybe when they can afford the weekends off and, the grilling and chilling,
they start
some other side businesses and they get a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. And that's what you kind of see is like, oh, they invested in all these other companies. It's like, that didn't happen for a decade.
I just got done taking down a $28 million exit subdivision and I finally got rid of my 2012 F-150 in the same year.
Hey, congrats. You finally made it.
Yeah, I got a pretty cool car now, but
what'd you get?
G-Wagon.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
And a tax write-off.
That's both of them. Yeah. And I still hesitated because the money's not going to be at work.
You're not going to like my opinion on G-Wagons though.
What's that?
I think G-Wagons are for women.
I
do. I think women, that's like a grocery getter to me. That's like a fancy housewife grocery getter.
Yeah.
Now, you got beefy tires on the bad boy?
Actually, that's the way I like it because it's got a small lift and big ass tires, got the AMG wheels.
Okay.
So to me, it's like a better Jeep is what I look at.
No, it's badass. I'm messing with you a little bit, but I kind of look at it. I'm like G-Wagon. That's a $200,000 Jeep.
It is,
but congrats on, staying consistent for long enough, reinvesting in your business before going out. And the number one thing that young people make, the biggest mistake I did, is buying nice shit.
It's been too fast.
Yeah. You finally start making money. You come from nothing and you go, I deserve this.
Man, I made a post about this when I came to Scottsdale this couple of days ago, and I have a nostalgic feel here because I tried to move here like 12, 13 years ago when I inherited a bunch of money from my grandparents. And it was terrible, man. I didn't have it together. I was drinking, doing drugs. I thought I was going to move out here and start a roofing company. A couple months in, 3 months in, I hadn't done any work and I'd just been high the whole time. Wow. And at this point, I'm running low on money. And it was such a terrible situation. Point is, I ran out of money and I went and got this job in the oil field. And I was like, I'm burned out. I'm disappointed. I'm sad, but I'm sober and I have a job. And at that point, I started to rebuild. And the first time, literally, money hit my bank account. I had a Porsche within less than 7 days of that inheritance hitting my account. Now I'm going to the Wolffield making $100,000 a year, realized it's going to take me 10 years to make what my grandma just gave me, and I burned in 2 or 3. This is serious shit. I can't spend like this. I've got to save. I've got to invest. I have to do it differently this time. That's why it took so much different the second time. And it sounds a lot like what you're saying. You learned the lesson a little bit differently, but you had a big blowout the first time. The second time, you're like, all right,
Yeah.
it's different.
I'm so dialed in with money now. Like
See?
I don't buy any nice shit. And when I do, I flip it a lot of times. Like even this watch, I bought this one. I got, it's hard to get Rolexes.
Dude,
right
I
now,
love that one. That's the stealth wealth one. Is that the white gold or is that platinum?
It's white gold.
Yeah.
With the olive dial. But it's just, this by the time you pay tax, like $45,000 watch.
Uh-huh.
I got a call from the Rolex people and they're like, hey, we got one in. I wanted the rose gold with green dial. It's really hard to get.
Yeah.
And they said, we don't have the rose gold, but we got the white gold. Do you want it? And I'm like, same thought. Like, God, that is stealth wealth. Like that just kind of flexes on people without flexing.
Everyone knows what the yellow gold is,
Yeah.
but only the people that know what that one is.
Yes. And so they're like, we got it in, but you got to make a decision immediately. And like, you want to have good relationship with your Rolex dealers if you're into watches because
How you get
they
it?
don't get you. There's not very many that you can get. So anyway, I wasn't looking for a watch, but I knew I was going to buy the watch.
Oh, and they called you from the dealer.
called
Oh,
me
so
from
your
the
name was
dealer.
on the list for like a
year and a
Yeah.
half. And they called and I was like, fuck, I literally flew to Miami, bought the watch the next day. And now I got this stupid watch, which is awesome, right? I got this stupid watch.
But you can flip and probably make 10 grand. I don't know.
No.
What's the
I
markup
could
now?
flip it and make like a few grand because like the market's not
okay.
super strong because I paid with the tax on the watches. By the time you buy the watch for 42 grand and you pay 3 or 4 grand in taxes, you're at 45, 46 grand. That's the market on this watch,
Got it.
at least right now. I'm hoping Bitcoin pumps and watches go crazy again and then I can make some money. But anyways, I'll wear it for 2-3 months and then I'll flip it for my 45 grand back. I'll probably break even on it, but I'll get.
You didn't burn 45
I didn't
grand.
burn
though.
45 grand. So, but even this, I make well over $10 million a year. This gives me heartburn to pull the trade. This is how conditioned I am.
That's because of what you've been through.
What I've been through. I realized, God, I will never be in a situation ever again where I'm wasting money on luxury items that and we were explaining this to your daughter earlier. The wealth model is so freaking simple. And once you get on the train, you never want to get off. And it's like, figure out how to get a few $1 million.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do to get a few $1 million. Because a few $1 million with leverage and a loan and the right type of real estate,
You're
can
off
buy.
to the races.
If you have, let's say, $2 million, like you inherited that money from your grandparents, if you would have taken that.
I could buy $5 million worth of real estate with a down payment.
Yeah, let's say you get $1 million, $1.5 million, and you could go buy $3-4 million worth of real estate with that, with leverage. Own that for a little while, cost seg it, wipe out some taxes, create some good cash flow from it, own it for 2, 3, 4 years, take out a loan,
Roll it.
go buy another piece of real estate with the loan that you took out against your equity and your down payment. You take that out a couple years later. Because you have the cash flow history and you got the relationship with the bank, they're going to loan you the money.
Yep.
Then you go buy a second one. You do the cost seg again. You don't pay taxes. You get more cash flow. Now you have double cash flow coming in. You're building more equity 2, 3, 4 years later. You take both of them. You 1031 exchange. You sell them. You exchange up into something even bigger. You take out a loan against it eventually when you need money. You just keep going. You just keep going. You keep going.
Yeah.
And then eventually you have so many assets spitting off cash that you can buy all the nice shit that you've ever desired.
Yeah, when you hit that point where you're spending the dividends or the income, at that point you say, okay, when I get to the point where I can buy something, it doesn't matter. When I bought that car, I was like, man, I feel guilt and I'm not sure I should do this, but I was able to buy it and not even think twice. And when the money actually didn't matter, then I feel like that's when it's okay to buy those kind of things for me.
Yeah, and somebody listening to this is going to go, but I like nice shit. I've worked my ass off. I want a nice car. What's the problem, Cody? Why can't I get the watch?
Then
Why
you
can't
pick. Do you want to be stupid rich or do you want to have a lot of cool shit along the way?
Yeah, you want to look
Pick.
rich or you want to be rich?
There you go.
And that's really the difference. And it's okay if you do it because you will learn the lesson at some point, just like I did when I got the big house and the Lamborghini. And then I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I read your post about that.
One Lamborghini is cool, but what's cooler than one Lamborghini? 2 of them. We got to get another one. Now I need a Porsche because I really like the way Porsches drive. And then I had a Range Rover and a Tesla and a $4 million house and this and that. And it's like, oh my God, my living expense is $150,000 a month, whether I put my pants on or not. How did I build this luxury prison? How did I get here? And you know what I could have done during that? It was about a 7-year period that I lived like that. Do you know how much further along I could have been?
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of commercial real estate I could be sitting on right now. If I would have just played the money game a little smarter. And it's weird because my ex has a belief system about money that's different than mine. Nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is people all over. Some people have a YOLO mentality.
Yeah.
Like, you only live once, baby. You can't take it with you. Let's enjoy life. Think about all the memories we created, all the experiences.
I hear that.
I get that.
I respect that. If that's their decision and that's what they want, that's okay. But I want protection. I want safety. I want longevity. And I frankly like this game. Like, at this point, I don't necessarily need any more dollars. We can live the rest of our life, still have a good life without another new dollar coming in. But this is fun. This is why I get up in the morning today now.
Yes.
It's exciting.
Yes.
And I also get to teach my kids so that they hopefully can experience this if it's what they want.
And I think when you are blessed to be the one that breaks through in your family, you have an obligation to not fuck it all up. You know, it's just like that. The lesson you had to learn is like every lottery winner on planet Earth that inherits money or gets money very quickly and fucks up that money game. You kind of look back now and you're like, how did I screw that up? It's like, because we weren't taught. We didn't know, you know, but now you learn that lesson. If you have the ability to remake that money, now you got to do it better. Can't make the same mistake again. You owe it to your family and everybody watching because you're the one.
So then the next question is, you teach them about that, but sometimes if folks don't have some of these tough lessons or have to deal with some amount of adversity and it's too easy, it might not sink. So then the next part of this equation is, how do I teach the kids those good money lessons, but give them enough things they have to work for so they still have the satisfaction the lessons still take? Like, I think that's going to be the next.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I think it's pretty simple. Hey, you want the Lamborghini. What do we need to buy as an asset in order to create the income needed to afford that car? So first, let's go model out the car. How much down payment do you need? What's your monthly payment going to be? By the way, rich people don't typically pay cash for cars. You lease them in a corporate lease. You know, I don't know how you bought your that
one. I didn't do a lease. I didn't do anything. I just paid for it.
You paid for cash. I'm at a point now, lately I've been paying cash for my cars. But up until then, I was a high income earner and I would just put everything under a corporate lease because I could write it off better. It was easier to buy luxury vehicles that way. What was the point? Oh, the point is, you know, let's say you need $50K down and $7K a month to have a Lambo. Because they're $300,000.
You know that math.
Yeah, it's about there. You know, $350,000 car. You know, Lambos have gone up in value so much. You can't, like, the shitty ones, the old Gallardos are still 200 grand. It's fucking crazy.
Dang.
But anyway, what assets do you need to flip or own to spit off that cash flow? What businesses do I need to create and start and scale to be able to create that cash flow? Because if your business is paying for that, I'm back in. I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Your business is at scale now where it can afford to carry the cost of that. I like that lesson for your kids. If they're watching you make those decisions, like, here's what it costs. This is what I'm going to do. Delayed gratification. I'm going to earn it up to here. When I hit this number, I'm executing the purchase. Yep. Boom. Now they learn that lesson. Like, wow.
That exact conversation has happened. I don't know how many times in our house where we explain, you got to build a business. You got to get this. You need the income. Once it starts coming in from sources that you're not having to go and work for every day to get it, makes it a lot easier to buy. I think we've still been really judicious with our household, you know, as well. I mean, we live in a $2 million house now, but, you know, I live in the best neighborhood in town. And there's about 6 houses in this neighborhood that are like the houses that you see in movies. And I've set another income goal that when I get rent income coming in from the warehouses and the offices and stuff at a certain level, that I'm going to go buy one of those. Not because it makes our life better. And at that point, it won't matter really anyway. But there are different like thresholds within that, I think, too.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
I love it. When you earn it, I'm a big fan. One day I'm getting a private jet.
Oh, wow.
That's like the big goal for me.
Man, that would be neat.
I just want the travel freedom. I don't want to wait in lines. I hate waiting in lines.
We've done a couple business trips private because it really made sense for us four and the timing. And there are a couple times where I'd get back on commercial after that. And I'm sitting here looking at my daughter like, gosh, I feel like a peasant.
Well, that's what it is, because you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
You can't
You're sitting in a line,
it.
You're waiting with all these people. No one's giving you any service. They're like, get in line, loser. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, my first time flying in a private jet was for Josh Altman's wedding from $1 Million Listing.
Oh, yeah.
A huge rich guy in town was one of the guests there. And he manages hundreds of millions of dollars. They sold a big billboard company.
Oh, wow.
And they are sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're lenders in town. And so anyway, he ran in a private jet and we all flew out to Aspen. It was the first time I was an adult, the first time I ever flew on a private jet.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember how excited I was because that had always been like a childhood dream. And then once I got on that damn jet, I was like, this is it. This is it.
No one's messing with me. I pulled up, brought my bag in, got on the jet and left. I didn't come an hour early. I came 10 minutes before time to leave.
It's the best feeling. And, and then the next time I'm flying Southwest and I'm on the cattle call, and like trying to get in like the B section and I'm in the middle of the plane and I'm like scrunch and I'm like, never again. I'm going to work so freaking hard until I can get out of this.
That's funny.
Situation. But even right now, I can afford a jet right now. I could go buy one, put the money down.
But you say, does it quite make sense? Because there's a lot of predictive, like, this is a great office you guys bought, and you told me about the mechanics and the finances of it. And you look at that and say, man, I'm better off buying another couple of those.
$500 million. When I hit $500 million worth of commercial real estate, I'll buy the jet. That's been my internal personal goal. I got it. I got to get there. This year, I want to give away $1 million.
Wow, it's huge.
Yep. For animal conservation. And I want to start to really scale our commercial. So we're in the process of setting up a fund right now. It'll be our second fund. We're going to raise, originally, my partner pushed the bar up a little bit. Originally, we were going to raise 50 million, but now it's looking like we're going to raise 100 million.
Wow.
And I had to wrap my head around it because it was, when he first told me,
it's a scary number.
I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? $100 million. Like, and then I started thinking about it. I'm like, dude, we could raise 50, we could raise 100. 50 is an insane number.
You'd be surprised how far your reach is and how many people trust you. And because you have a track record, you'd be surprised how many people will put money behind that.
That and the right type of real estate brings the money in. Well, you just need great operators and great real estate opportunities. And we're right now, before we launch the fund, we have been buying lots of commercial using either our personal money or a giant private lender who is sitting on like, $80, $90 million. And they've been funding us as soon as they have a team that underwrites it. And then we give away 50% of the deal to this big funder.
Yeah.
They love us because we got the track record. We're hard workers. We don't,
and they can deploy cash and get a good share.
We're really smart about the assets we're buying. We built the relationships with the network. And so right now we're giving away half, which is very expensive money.
Yeah.
However, it builds the credibility book. And I wanted to make sure before we go to raise, $50 million or $100 million that I could sit there and show them 10 case studies of all these big commercial assets that we bought, that we managed correctly. We did the entitlement work. And
I agree the way you look at that. You're going to have to give up sometimes. I've got partners. I'm a big partner fan. I don't have a single deal that I own by myself. In fact, my home, that's community property. Everything I have is at least half or something. I'm a big believer of that. Get good people, figure it out. And as you get better, your margins will recover, will grow. Sometimes you may not go with that old partner you had to give quite so much up for because you'll improve, but I don't think that's bad at all. I think that's smart.
All right. Well, let's have a little fun here at the end. You get to leave a message for your kids 20 years down the road from now. What would you tell them?
Good job, kiddo. Remember, we talked about this. This is how it's supposed to work. Keep going.
You think all the work you put in right now is going to pay off?
I think what we talk about every single day and the messages they learn and what we're pushing them to learn is exactly what it's required. And I think if they stick on, if they pay attention to half of that, it will work exactly how they hoped. I really believe that. If I would have got these messages when I was a kid, I would be much further along. And I believe it's the model. The model that you and I talked about is no different with a very small tweaks here and there to exactly what we're putting in our kids' mind daily. They just got to stick with it. And I think they know that.
All right. Well, all right. You can go back in time and give your younger self some advice, what would you tell your younger self?
Ooh. You know, I would go back and say, you're good enough. It's going to work out. Trust yourself more than you do and get to work. Because a lot of folks that get somewhere, they talk about the imposter syndrome and they just don't have the confidence, but they just go out there and try, and eventually it starts to work and they grow their confidence. And, I love my parents. They had a lot of good things they did for us, but that's not something that they did in a way that affected me positively at all. We tell our kids every day, we don't just say, you did so good in that sport. We say, you worked so hard today. The results are so great. I tell that to my 3-year-old daughter when she's done with her dance lesson. And I tell that to my eighth grader, same thing. But I think that builds the confidence. So when they're out there trying to make a decision, these 20 years of us beating in their head how smart, how good, and how hardworking they are, I think that's going to help them do better. And I would have liked to hear that when I was younger.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, how do people get a hold of you if they want to bring you a deal? They want to come hang out with you, learn from you. Do you have any in-office experiences or something that?
Yeah, Cody, the best place is if you get on Instagram, Logan Fullmer, type it in, I'll pop right up. I'm the only guy with this name or anything like it. So it doesn't have to be like the real Logan Fullmer. Go find me on Instagram. I talk about this stuff, family, business, and money all the time. I do partner with folks on deals like this. Just shoot me a message. Me or someone in my office will take a look at it. I do have a really cool event coming up. Dallas, Fort Worth area, April 6th. It's a full day. We're going to talk about curative title work, the messy stuff that we talked about early on. It's how to find these deals, how to find the right partners, how to find the right attorneys, and how to turn 50 grand into 250 grand in a couple of months. That's the heart of our business model. So we're going to spend an entire day there'll probably be 300-400 people there doing this. So I'd love to see you guys there.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, brother. Really appreciate you. I'm going to start using this tax date or the lien data in my system a lot more. And when I find some deals, I'll bring them your way and say, can you just sue all these people for us and unclog the system so we can make some moolah? And
go find us a little money.
Yeah. But I really do appreciate you coming out here. And I love the fact that you brought your daughter with you, dude. That shows that you're being a great dad.
Yeah.
Alignment with your family is very possible. I've screwed up a lot of stuff. I've learned a lot of lessons. And right now I'm in a phase of my life where everything is in such strong alignment.
Oh, it's so
I'm
great.
in alignment with my kids. I'm in alignment with my ex. I'm in alignment with my current girl. I'm in alignment with my family, my parents, my business partner, everything.
Wow.
I'm so dialed in all ways, always moving forward. It's just
that took a lot of work. Good job.
Yeah, it took a tremendous amount of work. You have no idea how bad I screwed some stuff up. But on the other end of that is the more money, more joy, more control, more freedom. So, all the work is totally worth it. And this is just a little side note as we're winding down. I had a friend who I was talking to today that, got caught doing something that he shouldn't have been doing. And there's a nuclear bomb going off in the dude's world right now. And I called him up and I said, listen, nothing is going to be better than you 2.0. What comes out, if you just stop talking and you just go put in this work to become a healed man, to go upstream, to take care of where is this energy coming from? Where is this need for significance coming from? Where is these choices you're making, these red light behaviors? Where is this coming from? I had the guy that was on yesterday, Eric Klein, his podcast is going to come out probably right before this one. Dude addicted to crack for 6-7 years.
Crazy.
Fucking crack. When he said that, I was almost in shock because he's such a well-spoken dude and his wife's there and his son's there. And I'm like, you were addicted to crack for 7 years? It's like we all got demons, man. We all got problems in our past. Like you went through it, you inherit money. Next thing you know, you're partying Old Town and blasting through all your money and doing, in a drunken stupor. It's like, it's easy to allow your pain to come out in these vices and to use these vices as a crutch as to why you're where you're at in life. But when you finally stop and say, you know what, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to change for you or for my girl or for my kids, or for anybody else. I'm going to do this for me.
When you fix that, all that other stuff.
Yes, I'm going to do this for me.
I'm glad that you're willing to talk about this because so many people, when they finally get there, they want to hide that and bear it because they're a new man. You're not a new man, dude. You're behaving differently, but all that stuff is still you.
Yep.
It's just a different era in your life, and that's part of it. And for me, I have candid conversations. Me and my daughter had a real serious conversation when we were walking a couple miles yesterday. We talked about this stuff. She knows what parts of my life were like back then before she was around.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're willing to get this out helps so many other people say, if he could do it, I can do this.
Yeah. And that's the message. That's the whole message. I'm like, version 2.0 of you is right on the other side of you going upstream and healing your shit.
Take the heat, take accountability.
And learning from it and letting your actions speak for you, not your words. Nobody wants to hear you talk anymore. They just want to watch you go put in the work and become the best version of you, because that's what the world deserves. We need leaders. We need people to step up. We need the better version of you. And you're only going to get there through the hard work.
That sounds like a lot of the stuff that when I went through the meetings that it took to get over the hard things. I hear a lot of the same themes there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it takes.
Well, maybe somebody needed to hear that last part before we sign off, just to kind of say, you know what, enough's enough. I'm done with all the red light bullshit. I'm gonna fix my shit. But I'm proud to see your family's with you, and that's pretty cool. I wish more kids were taught financial intelligence and had conversations around money and business and real estate. She's gonna be a beast. You're gonna be a beast someday. You know that, kid?
There you go.
And, well, we're out of here. Until next time, share this with a friend. We're out of here. Take care. Comb your hair. Peace.